Now we have about 10 to 15 minutes for questions, and I want to...
Questions? You didn't tell me there were questions.
And these are honestly questions. Please avoid long speeches, and if you're going to give us a manifesto, keep it really short before you ask your question. Okay, so...
Would you tell us who you are as well?
Did Global run the story?
Thank you, Ralph. I'm glad you asked that. I forgot to tell that part of it. We recorded it all, and no, they did. They ran the story on the part they wanted, but they didn't touch anything about my idea of Senate reform. You've never had that happen, though, I'll bet. No. Please. Yes?
You made reference to the Americans starting out with an appointed Senate and then moving to elected.
Yep.
Would you share some information about the circumstances that made them change, and do you see any parallels to our country?
I should have known you were going to ask me that question. I don't know. I haven't really actually studied. I'm more on the Canadian side than the American, and so I'm not sure. Michael, are you familiar with that? No, I do. Yes.
I'm a Texan American.
Yes.
And
Speak up so everyone can hear. A Texan American.
No, he says he's a Texan, not an American.
Oh, not an American.
no, I'm a professor of political science at Texas Tech University, where some of your football quarterbacks have come from. I don't know if they won the Grey Cup or not. But in any case, they were appointed by the legislatures. And so there was this popular movement of progressivism, as we call it, in the end of the 19th century, early part of the 20th century, and it was felt that the people ought to have the right to select their senators as opposed to a small group or a kleptocracy appointing them. So that happened, and now we're back to a kleptocracy through the matter of campaign financing, which really needs it. In Texas, each legislator, Senate, or member of the House or the national gets a fixed budget, and then he or she can use it as how they wish for staffing, and then for travel back to their constituency at the national level 2 to 3 times a year, and then the other times when they travel, and so many of them do travel on weekends, they use it from their campaign funds.
Right.
So, and is Professor McIntosh here tonight from the political science department? I had talked with him on the phone yesterday about coming here.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation, and I'm now educated, and I'm going to follow up on that even more. First off, on how you can be a Texan and not an American, but we'll go with that. Please.
You actually only listed a very small number of changes that have occurred in the Senate.
Yeah.
Is that the entire list?
Yeah. In all of our years since 1867. And yet, how many did I say there? 17 attempts in the last while. And there's really only been a couple of changes on the fringes. Yes, Michael? No, go next.
Gordon, when you were clerk of the Senate, and I remember visiting you in Ottawa at the time, you were struggling with these issues. You were trying to get reforms through. Do you feel now like saying, I told you so?
I told you so, yes.
And what were you trying to get changed, which might have headed off to today's problems?
Well, the Ken Dye report, and it's well, I'm kind of a junkie on that, but I think it's a good read in terms of what he was suggesting. And I don't remember now how many changes were recommended, but all of the changes that were recommended in terms of what I could do as the administrator were done. The changes that were recommended in terms of changing what the senators would do, none of them, to my knowledge, none of them were done, and I doubt that they have been done since. The biggest frustration for me was that Committee of Internal Economy. And the clerk has all the responsibility and none of the authority. And that's unworkable. You have to have authority and responsibility. And I would say the Committee of Internal Economy, I'm sorry, I get a little excited about this, but Internal Economy has to say to the clerk, these are the rules, and now it's your responsibility to enforce them. And if they're not enforced, we will have words with you as to why you're not doing your job. But it's not that, it's not, anyway, that was the biggest frustration. With that, please.
It's not the problem with the uneven application.
I'm sorry, I don't know who you are.
Sorry, Ian Jamoni, Department of History.
Yes?
The problem with the unequal, or the perceived unequal application of the rules, is that not perhaps linked to the problem of regional diversity? And the fact that one senator goes to the Committee for Internal Economy and says, well, the rules that apply to that senator shouldn't apply to me because I come from a very special, different part of the country. Is that not one of the reasons for the apparent inequity?
I don't think so, but I guess it could be. But I just think that it's just an inconsistency that's been built in, and I don't know. I guess I'm kind of black and white on this. It's either it's a rule and should be followed or not. And I think it should be followed. Who was that? Yes?
I'm John Klein. With what's happened in the Senate scandal so far, and do you think it's actually going to provide the spark that brings about the change? Like you mentioned, they didn't do any of your proposed changes, and I consider you a pretty powerful person in Canada.
Thank you, but I'm not.
Definitely compared to how people may feel about their own personal power in the country. And so if powerful people are not influencing these changes, what hope do people that don't feel connected to power really have to push this? And who can they talk to that will push this for them? Who are the powerful people interested in actually changing this?
Well, very interesting question, and thank you for your vote of confidence, except I don't really have any power. Perhaps some influence, but not even with Global in terms of their reporting. I don't know how we're going to... The next auditor's report, which as you know is being undertaken right now, and the media keep talking about it as they're investigating just those, it's kind of like it's because of this scandal. I think it is, Ralph, isn't it? It's a comprehensive audit. I think they're going to look at the whole thing. And depending on what Auditor General Ferguson recommends, I have my fingers crossed that he may repeat the Ken Dye recommendations for change in terms of the Senate. But I don't know. I did send an email kind of with a subtle hint, but I didn't get a response.
Recommend them to who?
Oh, it would be recommending it to the Senate. It would be the Senate that would make those changes. But I think it's going to be public pressure and perhaps political pressure from the House of Commons, which would be within the three political parties, as well as and the public pressure will come that way as well. I think that's perhaps how that sort of change will come about. The constitutional change, oh, that's an open question. I don't know how that's going to come about. But yes, Lauren.